Welcome back, everybody, with a new Decktech here. We're going to be working on a series of budget-esque decks. I have a very strict view on budget. I know a lot of people look at decks at less than $100 are budget. I think you have a budget deck if it's less than $50. These are going to be probably more expensive because these Elder Dragons are going to be more pricey. But I want to build some silly decks with these Elder Dragons, and I got a little lost in the sauce when I was building Silverquill, the Disputant, my favorite. But hear me out. I think it works. There are, outside of the mana rocks, and we'll go over some of our notable artifacts, and our commander here, and one other notable exception. About 90% of this deck is instants and sorceries. They generate tokens, they take out other creatures, end the game, all kinds of manner of stuff. But we are really, really focusing on our commander cares about instants and sorceries. But I'll also get into why you don't always have to have Silverquill out to be casting your token-producing spells, because we have so many. So Silverquill, the Disputant, is 2 colorless and white and black for a 4/4 Flying Vigilance Elder Dragon. Each instant and sorcery spell you cast has casualty 1, which means when you cast that spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power 1 or greater, and when you do, you copy the spell and you can choose new targets. We're going to be copying all kinds of stuff all the time. Now, we're going to have to protect our commander. First, and we have a few ways to do that. We got Restoration Magic, which is 1 white for an instant. It is tiered. You can cure for 0. Target permanent becomes hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Cura for 1. Target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. You gain 3 life. Or you can do Curaga, which is 3 colors on a white additional, and permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. You gain 6 life. An incredible uncommon card from Final Fantasy. Next is Moogle's Valor. This also doubles as additional token generation. 3 colors and double white for an instant. For each creature you control, create a 1/2 white Moogle creature token with lifelink. Then creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. We also have Perch Protection, which is 4 colors and double white for an instant. You may gift an extra turn to somebody. You can create 4 2/2 blue bird creature tokens with flying. If the gift was promised, all permanents you control phase out, and until your next turn, your life total cannot change, and you gain protection from everything. Exile Perch Protection. This is a really good spell. And like with most things in the game, if you, I believe, I'll have to double check because I'm doubting myself now. But I believe if you cast 2 things that say like until your next turn, they stack. So it'll be the next 2 turns. So you just be phased out for a hot minute if you happen to casualty this, which would be funny. But it'll keep you and your stuff alive. Next is an MDFC, which is in Shijiri Shelter. Colorless and white for an instant. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. And on the other side of it, it is a tapped white land. And those are our main abilities to protect our commander and keep him on the board, though he is not the only way we can win. He just makes the winning easier. So now we're going to look at our token generation. We're going to look at our big finishing token gen and like game-ending spells. And we're going to start with Finale of Glory, which is X and double white. Create X 2/2 white soldier creature tokens with vigilance. If X is 10 or more, you also create X 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance. Big board to mow over all what little creatures are around because we have so much removal in this deck, and we're going to be able to copy it. So we're just going to be able to keep the board clear so we can make sure we can get in and get our damage in. And if we can't do that, we have Exsanguinate, classic black finisher. X and double black for sorcery. Each opponent loses X life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Simple and easy. If you can't get your creatures in, you can get around that with Exsanguinate and Debt to the Deathless. which is X, double white, double black. Each opponent loses 2 times X life, and you gain life equal to the life lost this way. Basically just another backup of Sanguinate. That's a big X spell to help finish the table off with all the other stuff that we've been doing. Another finisher in West Vale Abbey. One of my favorite cards and lands perhaps ever made. It's just so much fun. And I like to put it in decks whenever I get the chance. This is a token deck, so obviously we have to do it. West Vale Abbey flips into Ormondel, the demon, and it's a big body, gets bigger when your opponents die, and it will just take everybody else out. It's great. Lingering Souls, 2 colorless and a white for a sorcery. Oh, this isn't a finisher anymore. I'm sorry, I just kept going. These are leading into our ability to just put tokens out onto the board, ranging from early game stuff to late game stuff. And of course, any of the early game spells, absolutely, we have so much token generation. Fire those off before Silverquill gets onto the board. You don't need to worry about having to copy everything you cast. You have so many instants and sorceries, you're going to be copying stuff. Don't worry about it. So Lingering Souls creates 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. Very easy, but it has flashback to get more tokens as well. So really the role of this card is to get tokens down before your Silverquill, and then while your Silverquill is out, you may recast it from your graveyard with flashback, sacrifice one of the tokens you got, and then you'll get 4 tokens. So that's the help with that. The Last Ronin's technique is 3 colorless and a white for an instant, but realistically, we're going to be dropping it for its sneak cost, which is colorless and white, which is you also gain 3 1/1 white Ninja Turtle spirit creature tokens. If the sneak cost was paid, they enter tapped and attacking. Another great token generator. It'll get us in. It'll give us tokens to cast spells and pop some of our opponent's creatures. Maybe even while they're attacking, so we can mess with blockers. Who knows? Now we're on to big token generation to put out a bunch of tokens like our Hour of Glory. Army of the Damned. 5 colorless and triple black for a sorcery. Create 13 tapped 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Big amount of bodies on the board. It has a flashback for 7 and triple black. Just a big spell, especially if we copy it. That's so many bodies to block with and take our opponents out with. We also have White Sun Zenith, X and triple white. Create X 2/2 white cat creature tokens. Shuffle White Sun Zenith into its owner's library. This is another card you don't have to wait to make this X huge because it shuffles and we draw a bunch of cards too. I'll show you that as well. Just fire this thing off. Get bodies on the ground. Duplicate it if you likely have Silverquill out by the time you cast this. Copy it, get more tokens, and then let it shuffle back in, which you draw it again. Next we have Blot Out the Sky, which is X and white black for a sorcery. Create X tapped 2/1 white and black inkling creature tokens with flying. If X is 7 or more, or 6 or more, my bad. 6 or more, destroy all non-creature, non-land permanents, which is great. Granted, it does knock out our artifacts, which is unfortunate, but we get hurt a lot less from that last line of text on this card than anyone else at the table, for sure. Now we have a couple of notable things that are really, really good to cast, and not just cast, but copy. A couple ritual spells that I can put into the budget, which is Dark Ritual, classic, 1 black, instant, add triple black. And we have Dark Petition, which is not just a ritual, it's a tutor. So you have 3 colorless and double black. You can search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. However, if you have Spell Mastery, if there are 2 or more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, add triple black to your mana pool. Both this and Dark Ritual, just incredible cards to copy, especially Dark Petition, because you functionally get the tutor for free if you can, if you have the Spell Mastery already, and you copy it, you'll get 6 black pips back for your 5 investment. Great. All right, now let's talk about some of our card advantage. We have Siphon Mind, which is 3 colorless and a black. Each other player discards a card. You draw a card for each card discarded this way. Tempt with Buddies, which I think is just one of the best things to put in this deck. It is so great with Silverquill. Tempt with Bunnies is 2 colorless and a white for sorcery. It has Tempting Offer, probably one of my favorite mechanics of all time, especially for Commander. Draw a card and create a 1/1 white rabbit creature token. Then each opponent may draw a card and create a 1/1 white rabbit creature token. And then for everybody who does, you get another card and another token. It's incredible work for this deck. Even if we just cast it and copy it and spend 3 mana to draw 2 cards and get 2 more bodies, which replaces the 1 body we've sacrificed, that's really good on its own. We have Corrupted Conviction, and because it has as an additional cost to cast a spell, you don't have to sacrifice an additional creature in addition to the one you're sacrificing for casualty. But it's 1 black for an instant, draw 2 cards. Then you just sacrifice another body, draw an additional 2 cards. Pretty great with Silverquill on board. And some of our bigger card draw, we have Pitiless Carnage, 3 colorless and a black, but you can plot it by paying colorless and double black, and once it's plotted, you may cast it at sorcery speed on a later turn for free. You may sacrifice any number of permanents you control, then draw that many cards. It's that simple. We got there's a big board that we can't get through. Maybe we don't have the mana to activate an Exsanguinate or a Debt to the Deathless to get the rest of our damage in. So we can plot this, and then on a later turn, especially if it's worth plotting before you have Silverquill down in your early turns. And then when he's out, you can... Though this is not worth copying, worth noting, because the effect that you're getting is a sacrifice trigger. You're not going to be doubling up your card draws by copying the spell. But it's still good to get down for free and then draw a bunch of stuff and you have mana to do stuff with those drawn cards. But we have very little attachment to any of our creatures because they're just little measly tokens and we're sacking them to cast all of our spells anyway. So big mass card draw when a big board doesn't help us. We also have Entrapment Maneuver, which is 3 colorless and a white for an instant. Target player sacrifices an attacking creature. You create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens, where X is that creature's toughness. Great piece of removal, and it also gives us bodies on the board to trigger our Silverquill. Good card. And it's sacrifice, so it bypasses Shroud, Hexproof, Indestructible, all that stuff. We have Silverquill Charm as part of our removal suite. Outside of like anything standard that's in the removal, like a Mortify or Vindicate, that kind of stuff, I'm not going to really go over. Those are just black-white staples in decks that are everywhere. I want to go over the specific things that we're doing that are a little bit different in this deck in these slots. So we have the recently printed Silverquill Charm. White and black for an instant. Choose 1. Get 2 counters on target creature. Exile a creature with power 2 or less. And you can have each opponent lose 3 life. You gain 3 life. Good versatile spell. It can help us finish the game or keep us protected in the early game. Very nice. Tragic Slip. It's so good because if you trigger it with Casualty, then Morbid is automatically on the board, and both of your Tragic Slips now are -13, -13s. Sorry, I should read it. It's 1 black for an instant. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. And then Morbid, which means if a creature died this turn, instead it gets -13, -13. Whoo! I have always loved this removal spell, and it's super good in Silverquill because we just trigger it on casting. We also have Abstruse Appropriation, which is 2 colorless, white and black. For an instant, it has Devoid, so it has no color, which is really good to point out in case this actually is a spell of ours along with the exile and attacking or the sacrifice and attacking creature, that's assuming they're only attacking with whatever creature you want them to die with, because they choose what they sacrifice if they're attacking with more than one creature. But this lets us hit things that are protected from colors, which is great. So it exiles target non-land permanent. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend colorless mana or mana of any color to cast that spell. And we have several abilities to generate sources of colored mana or colorless mana because of our artifact base. We also have Harsh Sustenance as part of our removal suite. Colorless and white and black for an instant. Harsh Sustenance deals X damage to target creature or player, and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control. This could have easily been in our finishers list, but I don't want to put it in y'all's heads to rely on this as a finisher. That's all. Because it doesn't have to be. This can easily be removal or to pick off a player. Doesn't matter. But it's really good and it'll keep you in the game. Now we have probably our best piece of removal, which is Hour of Reckoning, 4 colorless and triple white with Convoke. And it destroys all non-token creatures. So this will really help us get in and finish people off if it's later in the game. Another piece of removal that is printed in the new set is Pox Plague. 5 black pips, and it's each player loses half of their life, then discards half the cards in their hand, then sacrifices half the permanents they control of their choice, rounded down each time. Now this is incredible to copy as well, and it'll hurt. Don't get me wrong. It'll hurt. But because we're generating so many tokens, more often than not, copying Pox Plague is going to really hurt your opponents more than it's hurting us. And if it's not, then you might not want to cast your Pox Plague. Pro tip. We also have Moment of Reckoning, which is, I think it's funny to me, like you could theoretically use, I'll read it. 3 colorless, double white, double black for sorcery. You can choose up to 4, and you can choose the same mode more than once. Destroy target non-land permanent. Return target non-land permanent from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, this would let us get like mana rocks back and stuff like that, which could theoretically be useful, but more often than not, we are never looking at that second line of text. Our concern is choosing 4 non-land permanents to blow up with this spell, and then copying the spell to blow up 8 non-land permanents. That is our goal with Moment of Reckoning. And the one thing I wanted to point out is technically, if your commander were to have gone to the graveyard and you had a Moment of Reckoning in your hand and the mana to cast it, and let's say Silverquill's commander tax is too high, you could choose to have Silverquill stay in the graveyard whenever you lose him, and then on your turn, you could Moment of Reckoning, bring him back from the graveyard to the battlefield, then you can destroy 3 non-land permanents. That is an option, just so you guys are aware. Now we're to come across some of our artifacts that are not just your general, your Soul Ring, your Arcane Signets, your Talismans of X, because I don't remember the Orzhov one. Those are just your standard rant package for cards like that, especially in artifacts. But we have some notable artifacts in Horn of Valhalla, which is colorless and white. It has Isgard's Call, which is X and double white for sorcery and adventure. Create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. Another creature token spell. It also gets it's also an equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. This could easily, on a board we have made big for ourselves, could turn Silverquill into Flying Vigilance commander damage and start ending games that way. That is also an option. We have the Seance board, which is 2 colorless, and it has Morbid, which at the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, not guaranteed in our opponents, but it is each end step, and we're going to be putting counters on this thing for sure because of our casualty. You get a soul counter on the Seance board. Then you can tap it and add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of soul counters on the Seance board. The downside, quote unquote, is that you can only spend this mana to cast instants, sorceries, demons, or spirit spells. Those last two don't really matter because we don't have demon or spirit spells, but 90% of this deck is instants and sorceries. I think we'll be okay. We also have Crowded Crypt, which is 2 colorless and a black for tap out of black. So it's a mana rock, but whenever a creature you control dies, which we're sacrificing them all the time for our spells, you get a corpse counter on Crowded Crypt. Yeah, we're collecting souls and corpses. You can pay 4 colorless and double black to tap and sack Crowded Crypt, and you get a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed for each corpse counter on Crowded Crypt. So this is just a way to ramp into some of our bigger spells, and at the same time bring about some protection or some recursion to get a bunch of tokens out to make our Silverquill keep being valuable and keep being able to casualty spells. And on that note, we have Bender's Waterskin, which is 3 colors for an artifact. It untaps during each other player's untap step. You can tap and add 1 mana of any color. This allows us to fire off some of our protection pieces or removal pieces that are 1 mana especially, and we can casualty them on opponents' turns, which will help put counters on the Seance. My favorite spell in the deck, and I had to ask a judge about it because I couldn't remember, is Afterlife Insurance, which is colorless and hybrid white-black mana, so it's just a 2-drop. For an instant, creatures you control gain Afterlife 1 until end of turn, draw a card. Great spell. But let's break it down. Creatures you control. An important word that is not there is non-token. So all of our creatures benefit from this spell. Afterlife 1 is whenever a creature with Afterlife 1 dies, you get a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. Okay, solid. So I had to ask a judge. I was like, so can you have more than 1 instance of Afterlife 1 on a creature? And my response, which is my favorite response to ever get from any judge about any of the dumb stuff I want to do about a game, is sure, why not? So what that means is if you have a creature that has 2 instances of Afterlife 1, your 1 token is producing 2 tokens when they are killed. So if somebody else fires off a board wipe, and we have Silverquill and at least 1 other token on the board, because you cannot sack Silverquill to casualty a spell. It is very important. It does not work. But if you have Silverquill and 1 other token, we can sack it to give Silverquill Afterlife. But if we have a board of things and we really want to keep our board and someone fires off a board wipe, we can fire off Afterlife Insurance, casualty it, and basically double the number of creatures that we had, which is hilarious. This is our only creature in the deck outside of our commander. It is Hildebrand of Manderville. Colorless and white for a 2/2 human detective. He has Gentleman's Rise as an adventure. You can pay 2 colorless and a black. For an instant, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Simple. Creature tokens you can, and then you can, when you play Hildebrand, what he does is creature tokens you control get +1/+1. And when Hildebrand Manderville dies, you may cast it from your graveyard as an adventure until the end of your next turn. So basically, this is, once we get it out and it exists, it's an endless value engine that never goes away. And we can keep getting back. This is also something you can get back with Moment of Reckoning. So if he's in your graveyard and you need him to get back to maybe buff your board or get like a token back and stuff and get that going again, that is also an option. Not something you're likely doing, but it is an option. Next week, sorry, I switched the screen and I forgot I put these in here. So there are so many instants and sorceries that we could do. We have so much removal. We have card draw. We have been so responsible outside of having 90% sorceries with our deck building. Then let's get a little silly. I don't know if you guys know this, but black and white both have counter spells. I know. Black has Dash Hopes, which is double black, instant. When you play Dash Hopes, any player may pay 5 life. If a player does, counter Dash Hopes. Counter target spell. I know. It's not good. You never want to be in a position where you are letting your opponent make the decision. However, if you casualty Dash Hopes, and then the option is 10 life to counter the spell, whew, that's a whole different monster. That's very scary. And then the other one white has is Mana Tithe. 1 white for an instant counter target spell unless his controller pays 1. It's just kind of crazy that we have all these instants and sorceries that we can do in Silverquill's colors. And we also get access to 2 unconditional counter spells. The only, unconditional in terms of what they can target. Counter spells. The condition is it's easier for our opponents to get out of this counterspell magic versus blue counterspell magic, which is okay. It is okay. But that is Silverquill the Disputant. An excellent dragon. There are so many other ways you could build this deck. I just wanted to build something silly. It looked like a real deck list for a second. And I was just looking at stuff and I was like, I don't have that many creatures in here. Or enchantments. What if I just got rid of everything else? And just did sorceries? And that's what I went with. And I think the craziest part is it works more than it doesn't. And I'm here for it. This is my favorite of the Elder Dragons. I want to do a instant or sorcery heavy brew for all of them to see how it goes. I think we're going to work on Witherbloom next. And that will be on Monday. Thank you guys for watching. I very much appreciate it. If you could do the things that appease the algorithm, like, comment, subscribe, would be super cool. With all the shilling out of the way, be excellent to one another, and have a good one.